Wellness for Life is brought to you by Back in Motion Physical Therapy, Gothenburg Chiropractic Clinic, MAHUBE-OTWA Community Action Partnership, and Lakeside Sports and Pain Clinic.
Hello, I'm Matthew Kaufenberg, physical therapist and owner of Back in Motion Physical Therapy in Pearl, Minnesota, as well as Park Rapids, Minnesota. Over the last several episodes, which I certainly encourage you to go and look at, over those last several episodes, we have been doing a series that I have been calling the 5 Best, where I've been talking about the 5 best exercises for various parts of the body. So, we've talked about the 5 best exercises for the ankle, for the knee, for the hip, for the low back. Today we're going to talk about the 5 best exercises for the neck. The neck is very, very complicated. There are multiple exercises that can be done for the neck. So it's been a little bit difficult to try to hone in on 5 exercises for the neck. What I do want to say is, if you do experience any neck pain whatsoever, prior to the exercises or during the exercises, make sure you're talking with your doctor. So if I give you an exercise today and you start doing it and you have some discomfort, just stop and then talk with your doctor or give me a call. Again, the neck is very complicated. We want to be very careful with the neck. The 5 exercises that we're going to talk about today are really quite safe. They shouldn't cause any concerns, but what they will do is that they will the idea is that they'll prevent problems in the future. We're going to do a lot of different exercises today that really are all about keeping the neck mobile, keeping the neck loose and free and moving well, and hopefully we can prevent some things from happening. However, the first exercise I'm going to talk about is not necessarily a prevention exercise. It is an exercise for that scenario where I think most of us have had this happen to them, where you wake up in the morning and you can't move your neck. You wake up and it's very difficult to turn to one side. You end up having to turn your whole body. Seems to be okay to one direction, but that other side is really, really difficult. It's a very common occurrence. It happens to most of us. And there's one very, very simple thing that you can do at home to really remedy that situation. So let's say you wake up, you can't turn your head to the left. So what I would recommend is that you lie flat on your back and heat up the neck. So just put some sort of heating device on it, a heating pad, a hot pack, something that you have at home where you can heat it up. I would heat it up for about 10 minutes. And then what you do, after about 10 minutes of heating it, you just lie flat on your back, and you actually want to turn your head in the direction that you can't go. So if you can't turn to the left, you turn your head as far as you can to the left, you place your hand on your chin, and you oscillate the neck into that direction. So this is oscillation. It's just kind of a back and forth motion. And you oscillate 10 times. You kind of push it into the pain a little bit, and then you relax and you repeat. Again, you go as far as you can on your own. Take your hand and oscillate it 10 times and relax. You do that a total of 10 times. So it's 10 motions to the left with 10 oscillations. I guarantee that'll work. You'll be amazed at how quickly you can then turn your neck. If you have to do that once or 2 more times during that day, go for it. But that's that scenario where you wake up in the morning and you can't turn your head. That will work. All right. Now we've got 4 more exercises to talk about. One of them is going to be a stretch. There's lots of neck muscles that often give us a lot of grief. So we want to do a specific stretch of those muscles. And it's a good idea when you stretch the neck, don't be aggressive. They're very gentle. You hold it for about 30 seconds and you repeat it about 3 times. So we're going to try to stretch this area of our neck. So what I would recommend that you do is you have a seat. You grab the end of what you're sitting on. So if you're sitting on a chair, just grab the end of it. And you want to sit up nice and tall. You kind of pull your shoulder blades back. So if I want to stretch my right side, I'm going to turn my head to the left, not fully. I want to go about halfway. And then I'm just going to let my head drop. I'm going to take my free hand and place it just on the top of my head. Let the weight of my arm bring the head down. I'm not cranking my head down. I'm not pulling it down. I'm just letting the weight of my arm pull the head down, and then I lean my body over. And when I do that, I feel a nice, gentle stretch right through here. And again, you're going to hold that about 30 seconds and repeat it 3 times. Okay? The next thing that we can do, and again, most of these are all about mobility. So you can take, this is a piece of TheraBand. You don't have to use TheraBand. You can use a pillowcase. You can use a towel. But this is an exercise to keep your neck mobile going backwards. Okay. So you just take your TheraBand or your towel and you place it right around your neck. And again, you let the weight of your hand pull down. I'm not pulling down. I'm just letting the weight of my arm pull down. And then I'm just going to lean my head back and then turn it. I'm just going to turn it 10 times. You might hear some crunching and some clicking. That's very, very normal. Don't worry about that. So pull down, head back, turn to the left 10 times, and then you'd repeat the same thing to the right. Very, very simple, but very, very effective exercise to keep my neck mobile going backwards. Next, you want to do an exercise with a chair. This one you've probably seen me do in a prior episode. It's very, very good for the discs of the neck. So again, just take a pillowcase, have a seat. You want to have a seat with a chair that's got a back that basically stops about mid-shoulder blade region. The top of the chair will end about mid-shoulder blade. Normally I'm going to hold it like this, but I'm going to take this hand away so you can see what my head is doing. This is called neck retraction. So what you're going to do is just bring your head back as far as you can over the back of the chair. And you repeat that 10 times. Now the key with this one is you don't want your head to just drop back. You don't want your chin to come up. You want your chin to stay low. And you repeat that 10 times. Excellent exercise for keeping the neck mobile, and it really keeps our discs healthy. All right, the final activity that I highly recommend, I would recommend that people just get a TheraCane. It's really, really good. This can be very, very effective for those just chronic aches that you feel in your muscle. So a TheraCane, there are various sizes. They've got these knobs on the end of them that you would use to do what we would call acupressure or deep pressure release into a muscle. So you find one of those knots. You take one of the knobs on the TheraCane and you place it into the knot. So this is a very common spot. Just place it right into that knot, and again you use the weight of your arms to just kind of pull down. And you hold that for 30 seconds and it feels really quite good. And you can find various knots throughout the neck and thoracic spine region. That's what I've got for today. That's what I would recommend that you do to try to keep your neck healthy. If you have any questions, please call me at 346-2464.
Coming up on Wellness for Life.
We're back at MAHUBE-OTWA today, and we're going to talk about the wonderful world of insurance, which has got my brain going in all sorts of different directions, but we brought in a professional. And Lynn, what is your role here at MAHUBE-OTWA?
So I'm the Stabilization Services Manager. So I work with MAHUBE's programs that help stabilize families. We do food support outreach, we do tax aid. Today we're going to talk about our MNSure outreach and how we work as navigators to ensure that folks are able to access that resource. With the Affordable Care Act, Minnesota developed the MNSure system, so individuals can use that system to decide what they're eligible for. Our role as navigators is to help them put their information for their families into the system, and then it decides if they're eligible for medical assistance, which is a county-based program, Minnesota Care, which would be state-based, or a qualified health plan, which is similar to that you would have at your employer. There's premiums, there's deductibles, co-pays, things like that. When eligibility comes up for a qualified health plan, our role then is to refer them to a local broker who is also a local agent who can then help them decide based on their family size, their medical needs, which of those plans is best for them. Our navigators are not insurance agents by any means. They're social workers, they're CNAs, so their role is to help input the data into that system and then help with eligibility, and then deciding, you know, okay, now what's my next step and where do I go with that?
Well, I've seen a lot of TV commercials and billboards and certainly seen the logo for MNSure, but who exactly is MNSure targeted towards?
So MNSure can be used by any citizen. It's an online data system that can be accessed through any desktop computer. So someone personally, you could go to the library. If you were comfortable with inputting that information yourself, you could go use the public library's computer and enroll through the MNSure system on medical assistance. A lot of folks aren't real comfortable with the computers and they're just like, oh, I'm fine on my phone, but I don't know about doing that. So then they can schedule an appointment at any of our 5 offices, and a navigator can come, meet with them, and put that information in, help them set up their username and password.
You know, you start looking at insurance, specifically health insurance, and you know, there's just so many different options out there. Why is MNSure specifically a good option for Minnesota residents? So
for individuals who don't have, maybe they're working seasonal work that doesn't offer an insurance through their employer, they have blended families where they have to provide for maybe children that aren't in the home. There's some options through that program, through our program, through MNSure, that allows them to put their whole family in based on tax dependencies and things like that. So they can cover people that maybe otherwise wouldn't be covered through employer-based coverage or wouldn't otherwise have insurance. So it really helps those that maybe work for cash, who then can apply for insurance based on that income, who work seasonally, aren't offered employer-based insurance. It really helps those individuals be able to access an insurance coverage.
It wasn't many years ago that some of the laws changed, and I believe every citizen is required to have insurance. So what are the benefits of even having insurance?
Well, you know, if you have a car accident today and break your arm, the benefit is you're not going to have to sell off assets or lose assets because you're going to have that coverage to cover your medical bills. It helps the community because then the hospital isn't maybe taking that loss because that bill isn't being paid on a timely manner because you do have that insurance in place and you have to pay a smaller portion of that. So as an individual, if you have a medical accident, you know, typically many of us don't need our insurance until we have an accident or an injury, but those bills can rack up so quickly. You know, you can break a leg and have to have surgery, and then you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars in bills, and how are you going to come up with that without, like I said, either losing an asset of your own or having to come up with losing some kind of an income asset to yourself because you're now paying that to the hospital or the clinic.
So if my mind, and it is going just a million different directions, because when you start talking about insurance, I mean, it becomes confusing. But if we're thinking about insurance and maybe we're thinking MNSure might be the option for us, what's the best way to get a hold of you or people like you with MAHUBE-OTWA that can help us out?
So something to note, open enrollment will go until January 15th. However, if someone wants coverage for January 1st, they need to have their application into the system between the 15th of December and January 31st, or no, excuse me, December 31st to have that January coverage. But otherwise, the best way is to just call the MAHUBE-OTWA office here in Detroit Lakes at 218-847-1385. And then if the person ends up needing to meet with someone maybe in Fergus Falls or Wadena or Perm, then we can facilitate that for them.
Sure. Well, Lynn, I am glad that there are people like you that are a lot smarter when it comes to insurance than I am, and so we appreciate your time today and explaining just a little bit about MNSure and insurance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Wellness for Life. Brought to you by Back in Motion Physical Therapy, Gothenburg Chiropractic Clinic, MAHUBE-OTWA Community Action Partnership, and Lakeside Sports and Pain Clinic.